Welcome to this edition of About Health. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Lenoir. Our topic today is what to talk to teens about with regard to risky behavior. Our special guest, Dr. Donna Carey, a noted pediatrician in the San Francisco Bay Area. A special interest in teenagers, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
What a topic. I mean, I think almost any parent with a teenager struggles with talking to them about anything.
That's right.
When we talk to them about risky behavior, what are we talking about?
So we're talking about things like the introduction of smoking, tobacco, using drugs, and the initiation of sex.
And so, okay, those are all pretty interesting subjects. Each of one, they all kind of come together in the concept of how do you start the topic?
Right.
How do you start the discussion? Where are you?
Right.
They don't hardly want to talk to you for texting.
Right.
I mean, so how do you get them? How do you get their attention?
And that's exactly right. So texting is a big issue, right? The fact that we are constantly having screen time.
Right.
Our teenagers are always on their phones. But it's not just teenagers, it's parents too, right? We understand, we like technology. And so the first thing you have to do is get rid of screen time and have more family time. The more you talk to your teen, the more they're going to open up and tell you things about what's going on in their life. And parents have to be, regular and strict about certain times. So establish some ground rules. When you come into the house, we turn off all telephones, no screen time for the first hour and a half. We have some family time, and then you can get your phone back. Or you can have time to do whatever you want to do, and then after dinner, there's no screen time so that we can have some family time. So setting up established rules is the first step.
How do you just get their attention? A lot of times they feel that you're invading their space. And the other thing that's more important than that is that it's hard to set limits now for teenagers.
And that's because the way we parent is very different than the way your parents parented and my parents parented.
My mother would have gone to jail. No question. No doubt about
That's
that.
right. So we sort of have to get back to the fact that, our teenagers are not our friends. Our kids are not our friends.
Right.
We are parents, and we have responsibilities, and we are responsible for our children, and we need to set boundaries and set rules.
No question. I met with each of my girls, and I said the same thing. I told them I had friends. I didn't need any more friends. But nowadays, you got to befriend your children. You got to beg them to talk to you. I mean, I don't know whether or not they're any different.
Right. Well, I think one of the things is we as parents, we're very different. This generation is very different in their music and their dress, and what's acceptable to them is very different than our generation. So the first thing you have to do is, as parents, you have to kind of delve into their generation. Get knowledgeable about what's happening with them so you can talk to them.
Now, that may scare you. I mean, I remember once I was listening to a song my daughters were listening to, or my granddaughters, I can't remember which, and I looked up the lyrics. And the performer wanted to kill everybody in the house. I mean, so I don't know how much delving I really want to do because the culture is so very different. Does there have to be a more defined and structured approach?
The best time is before they're doing anything, right? So at the preteen visits, the 11-year-old visit, the 12-year-old visit, you start having conversations. Hey, what are your friends doing? What do you do on the weekends? What kind of music do you listen to? And start that conversation. And then I say, really an 11 to 12-year-old, that preteen, they're really much more influenced by their peers, right? So if you ask, what are your friends doing? And they say, oh, my friends, yeah, they smoke a cigarette, then you know to flag that kid. Because if they're not doing it now, if they continue to hang out with that group of friends, eventually they will do it. Also, the products that are out there now are very different than they were before. So whereas smoking, which is well known to be sort of the gateway to using harder types of drugs. Now you don't have to pick up a cigarette. You can do an e-cigarette. So it's very different now. So what's available, how ubiquitous it is, all of that is very different. So as a parent, you have to be very aware of these things and recognize that it's not the same as it was for us. It's so much easier to get a hold of things. And your child could be doing things, taking drugs, and you're not even really aware of it because it looks like it's a Skittle.
What kind of things can you do to set up a one-on-one on risky behavior?
So I think for parents, again, spending more time with your children. So just having conversations about what's going on in school. Hey, what did you do today? What was your day like? Who did you hang out with? I let you go to the mall last week. Where did you go? Where did you shop? What clothes did you buy? Did you go to a movie? just kind of just general conversation.
I think what you're saying, the essence of what you're saying is that you have to be persistent as both a
Right.
parent and a physician,
Right.
trying to understand the lifestyle and some of the details. And I think there's also still that piece of mother wit that tells you something's just not right.
Yes, yes.
You know, they tell you something, you say, well,
That
let me
doesn't
think
quite
about
make
that.
sense. So often we see something as a parent and we think that that's not quite right. But instead of kind of jumping on it right then, we wait and we
Right.
say, well, I don't really want to talk about it. They don't want to talk to it. They're going to get mad at me and then we're going to have turmoil in the house, and you let it go. And then that small problem that was there 6 months ago is now a full-blown problem 6 months later that you really have to handle. So pay attention and intervene early.
This is a very special time, very special responsibility. Parents need to, and physicians need to take it seriously.
That's right.
Dr. Donna Carey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That ends another edition of About Health.